Hi friends, welcome back to Karla Created. I'm Karla, and in today's video I'm going to be making this top. It is the Simplicity pattern S8839, and the reason why I'm making this top today is because I haven't made anything for quite a number of weeks now. I've had quite a bit going on in my personal life and I just haven't had the time, but I've got a little bit of time up my sleeves this week, and I really need the dopamine hit from sewing something quick and easy, so I've decided to make this. I did actually buy this pattern and the fabric quite a while ago. I shared it in a fabric and pattern haul video that I did, which I will link here or here. Anyway, and this is the fabric that I am going to make. This beautiful green linen is what I have chosen to use to make this top, and I just love the color. I love that it's linen. This pattern, this beautiful green linen fabric, and that's all I have to say for now. Let's get into it. So I have all my pattern pieces here. Look how big the sleeves are. Oh my golly gosh. So I've got them all here on my table behind me. I'm going to cut out the pattern first and foremost, but I just wanted to make a quick comment about sizing of Simplicity patterns. And maybe it's just me and not being able to interpret the back measurement section correctly, although I don't think it's that difficult to do. I had the same issue when I made my last Simplicity pattern, which I will also link somewhere in this video. It said that I was like a size 10 or 12 based on the measurement system on the back here. And I actually made the last Simplicity pattern that I did in a size 10, and it was huge. So I don't know what it is about the measurement system that they suggest, but it is way off. So just a note, if you're going to make this pattern at home, and if you are also finding that it's really out of whack, what I am doing for this pattern is picking the size that I typically am, which is a size 8 rather than the size that the pattern suggests, and also just checking the finished garment bust measurement, just to make sure that I've got a couple of inches sort of leeway around the bust area. This top doesn't have any kind of closure on the back neck or anything like that, so you kind of have to be able to pull it over your head. So I think there'll be plenty of room for that with the size that I actually am and should be, rather than going with the size that they suggest, which would be giant based on the finished garment measurement. So if I went with the size that they suggest based on my measurements. Anyway, enough of the rambling. Let's start cutting out this pattern. I have folded over the fabric selvage to selvage to cut the sleeve out. Now you'll see here that I've just created a bit of a fold in the middle to make the sleeve width, I guess, a little bit lesser, so then it's not so giant and billowy, but also so then it fits within the fold, because I'm trying to maximize this fabric as best I can because it was so expensive.
The construction of this top is really straightforward. You start by stitching stay stitches along the neckline for the front and back bodice pieces. You then add some bust darts to the front bodice piece. Now remember people, when you're doing your darts, don't back stitch at the point. Keep threads long and tie a knot, because it will just make them sit really nicely when you iron them flat. The neckband of this top has a facing piece, which you can see here, which just stitches to the inside of the neckline.
All right, we are making progress. I've just done the neckline interfacing. What's it called again? Facing. Neck facing. Anyway, I'm starting to get tired. It's been a long day. So next step is to stitch this to the neckline and then understitch it. So I'm going to do that after I have my tea and my biscuit. I hope you're having an enjoyable day wherever you might be in the world and whatever day it is for you whilst watching this. Anyway. Alrighty, we're pinned. We're pinned, and then once it's sewn, folds over. Very nice, very nice. We just check these things now because we already stitched one seam the wrong way earlier, but that's fine. Okay, now I just stitch that down and then I will do the understitch. Happy days. Okay, it is the next day and this is how far I got yesterday with the top. So you'll see that I finished, it's inside out obviously, I finished the neckline. I even added one of my labels here which I had made so then I can see Karla.created and remember that I made it. Anyway, I have also stitched the side seams together and then I've overlocked them and pressed them. So really happy with how professional that looks, although I didn't bother changing my overlocker thread because I didn't have any green overlocker thread, and yeah, that's the situation. So it's looking really, really great. All that's left to do is the sleeves and then hem, the sleeve hems and the hem of the top. So I'm gonna get started on that now. I've got the sleeve pattern piece here. You can't really see because the sun's shining through it, but there is these casing lines here, which I'm just going to transfer onto the fabric for the sleeves that I've already cut. And essentially what this step entails is creating a casing across the fabric of the sleeves on the inside and then threading elastic through that casing. For the casing, it specifies in the pattern instructions to use bias binding. I did for a moment contemplate making bias binding out of the leftover green linen that I've got here because there's quite a bit left over. I keep all of my scraps as well. Because I reduced the size of the sleeves ever so slightly, I ended up having quite a substantial piece left. So I'm going to keep that and use that for another project, maximize my money's worth. I might even make something for my daughters out of it so we can be matchy-matchy maybe. So I changed my mind though because I just didn't want to bother cutting into the fabric and making bias tape out of that linen. And also it's very expensive fabric and I thought it's not worth it. I'll just use some of this thrifted bias binding in this lovely bright blue, which is the softest bias binding that I have in my stash. Because the other ones that I had are kind of like, they're like a thicker cotton and quite scratchy, whereas this is very, very soft. So I didn't want it to be scratchy around my arms, so I've picked this one. You're not going to see it anyway. And yeah, I'm going to use that to create the casings. So that was really long-winded, but I'm sure you've gotten used to my long-winded approach by now, if you're still watching.
I have pinned all of the bias binding casing in place. What I did is I put each of the two sleeves next to one another, mirror image of each other. So then I made sure that I was putting the tape on the right sides. And I pinned the first one down based on the pattern, and then I just copied it across, so then it was all even and balanced and symmetrical. And now I'm going to stitch those casing by sponging strips in place. They are all stitched on. I did move this top casing strip down by an inch or so on both sleeves because I felt like it was too close underneath the arm, and then I checked the pattern picture, and yeah, it looked like the elastic would be right up under your armpit, and I just figured that that would be kind of uncomfortable, so I've just moved it down a little bit. Hopefully it still looks okay, but yeah, we'll see. I'm sure it will be fine.
Here we are. The casing is done, and you can't see the blue, which is fantastic. I now need to do 2 rows of gathering stitches. So what I'm going to do is just adjust my stitch length up to 4 and then drop my tension down to 3. Alrighty, so 2 rows. The reason why you do 2 rows is because it gathers more easily and more evenly, I should say. Now, the pattern piece does have 2 markings on the shoulder that indicate where you need to do the stitches from. Okay, so I've had a quick look here, these ones here on either side, and that's about 2 inches up from the little mark up. Anyway, I'm going to eyeball it because that is how I roll. Gonna eyeball it. Okay. We'll leave a long tail, so then I've got threads to pull for the gathers. Those are done, and you'll see here I grab 2 of the threads, and I just, oh wait, let's grab 2 of the top threads, and then I just gather like this. Voila. And I just make that evenly distributed across the whole top of the sleeve, and it's going to be beautiful. All right, I will do that, continue that once I have put the elastic in. Now, the pattern provides an elastic guide, and I am going to follow it, sort of. Here is the elastic that I have pulled out from my stash, and it is ½ centimeter thick, which is 1/4 inch, that's right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure out. Now, this is the upper elastic guide. So now this is how much it thinks it needs for the upper part of my arm. And I'm going to try and just adjust and see if that is going to be too tight for my armhole. No, I think that's good. I mean, I've got a thick jumper on. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I now know that I can trust the pattern measurement for the upper arm at least. I might just check the mid one as well, just to make sure that that's not going to be too loose. Yeah, perfect. I think it's fine. Great. Well, I'm going to cut these pieces. Size 8, add 1/4 inch on one end and cut. And then I just use the bit that I've cut to measure for the second sleeve. I just threaded the very first elastic through, and I did it off camera because I had to just tinker with this bodkin thing. Anyway, I made it work. We got it through without too much headache, and look how cool that looks. I'm so glad that I reduced the width of the sleeves because I think it, based on just how gathered it already is, it would have been too much gathering for my liking if I had kept them the original width. Anyway, so I'm just going to go through and put the rest of those elastics in. Alrighty, all of the elastic is in. Look at that. Look at the drape. This fabric is actually a delight to sew with. I'm not at all mad now at how much it was. So all I need to do now is just stitch the elastic on either side of the sleeve in place and then sew the sleeves together, right sides facing, and then I will overlock the inner seam after I've stitched it together and attach it to the bodice. The top is finished and it is awesome. I am very pleased with how it has turned out, and like I said yesterday when I filmed the intro for this video, it definitely has given me the sewing dopamine hit that I really needed.
I think it is such a cool top. I am really loving the jazzy sleeves. I think I could have tightened the armband elastic a little bit more, just so that it created sort of more bunching around the arms or sleeves, but I still love it as it is. Maybe in the future I'll tighten that elastic, but for now it's so cool, it's so different and very, very comfortable. I am in love with the color as well.
Quick review on the Simplicity S8839 pattern. Definitely recommend. I do suggest moving these elastic armbands a little bit further down so then they're more evenly distributed puffs on the sleeves. I'm really glad that I did that. Would I make this again? Yes. And in fact, I think that I might make a long sleeve tunic dress in the future, possibly out of another linen fabric, maybe like a rust color. That would be really nice. Yeah, definitely would recommend. It is true to size in terms of the measurement that I chose. So like I said at the start of this video, I'm a size 8. I picked the size 8. It's not true to size if you go by the body measurements on the back. So I'm really glad that I stuck to my guns and went with my known size rather than what they were recommending. Overall, really good pattern, really enjoyable make, and I hope you enjoy it following along with me while I made this top. And I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you liked the most from this video. That would be really great. I'd love to have a chat in the comments with all of you. It just makes my day. And as always, if you enjoy this kind of content, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.